Hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with me. As you can probably tell, I'm walking around outside at night. It's partially because I don't want to bother my wife as I record this. Also, that's mostly, that's the only reason. It's nice to kind of, walk around while you talk. So, I just finished Ghost in the Shell SAC 2045. That's season one. It came out in 2020. And it is the latest installment in what Japan does with this Ghost in the Shell franchise. And so basically, just to recap you, so I'm learning what Ghost in the Shell is because I'm interested in it as a just as a property. It seems like it's a cool, you know, it's a genre, and it's the founding title in the genre, and I'm interested in kind of exploring that as a story concept, maybe for future comics to get your way. Something I'm trying to branch into. So I need to get educated, right? And where else to start than with Ghost in the Shell? So I saw the 1995 movie about 6 or 8 months ago, and that film was not great. I saw it during first rounds of lockdowns, and I get sort of the appeal in a way, I suppose. That the concept's very deep. Like it's dealing with a lot of challenging philosophical topics, and it spends a lot of time, a lot of ponderous moments reflecting on that. And they do a lot of tracing of what do you call it? It's a nice term is rotoscoping. People, actors on stages, and then they make them look dumb so that you can tell that they're robots, which is a terrible way to design a character, is to try and give them lifeless eyes. Just tell me that the person with nice, engaging, interesting, relatable eyes is also a robot. Do it with purple irises or something. Don't make them lifeless. So that was a terrible film. See, I can say these things with the benefit of having zero nostalgia for this franchise, because I know nothing about it except that everyone always talked about it growing up. Never seen any of these, so I'm jumping around a lot. I have a list of suggestions from people who have seen every installment. I can tell just from what very little I've read, and just from the art, that the original the manga is probably it wouldn't be wrong to compare it to. You could put it on that same level as Taj Mahal. It looks more than uh, more than world changing as a achievement of artistic expression. And it's kind of interesting because it's like it's the book versus the book was better than the movie, kind of that whole meme. You've got a manga, a very successful, a very gorgeous, uh, sumptuous, uh, just very aesthetically satisfying manga, and then you've got various production companies trying to recapture that in different ways, where they're trying to show off a little bit of what they got, express themselves, and also try to uh, ring the bell of authenticity, authentic reflection of the heart, I guess, of the original manga. And my understanding, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but just from perusing, how this franchise has gone and been handled throughout the decades, some of these TV shows and movies are kind of reimaginings, kind of like parallel stories that just kind of pick and choose what they want from the manga. To kind of like the. You ever see the Tintin movie? Tintin movie is like 6 or 8 of the comics kind of smashed together. So that, some of them are kind of like that, and some of them just kind of write original new content with the classic characters and have them kind of fight through a new topic that's in the vein of the old topic of this ghost in the shell. Wow, there's some loud frogs out tonight. Ghost in the Shell. Don't you think that's a funny title? After seeing the 95 movie, and they deal with this every single iteration. It's not really a ghost, right? It's more of a spirit. The shell are the robots, and shell's kind of a weird name. It's more like, I don't know, it's like spirit in the vessel or something, but that doesn't sound, ghost in the shell, I suppose. It's got that, it's a little harder edged. Fits with sci-fi, but it entirely misleading. Anyway, so SIC 2045, I see it's got like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes audience score. IMDb gives it like a 6.1 out of 10. PlayStation 2 graphics, yes. And the first version of this where it looks like people are genuinely just trying to skip I guess the impression is that people are trying to circumvent the hard work of animating something in a 2D environment, which is what kind of the legacy of this franchise has been. And they're just going to do something cheap and quick with 3D. And I think that's what a lot of the reviews reflect. And it's terrible animation. I'm not going to lie to you. But when I see stuff like this and it comes out of Japan, I figure there's got to be a reason this thing was greenlit. And if it's not the graphics, then that tells me that suggests to me that I should probably check it out anyway, because maybe it's the script. And I really liked this script, okay? So script for the 95 film was decent, had a ton of fat. Had like 2 fight scenes and then lots of dead-eye staring from a rotoscoped actor. It's I'd sooner give that a 6 out of 10. But the script here is really interesting. So it's a 2020 production, right? And they're dealing with post-humans kind of manifesting, kind of evolving out of traumatic situations, and these people, at least in the one that they're trying to track down in particular, this is a little boy who's they kind of hyper evolve from circumstances into something that it's like a avatar of chaos and violence, trying to disrupt the modern age in a way that perpetuates. They call it the perpetual war, where it spikes the cultural climate into a situation where war cannot end. So that's kind of what these post-humans are, what's being claimed that they do. And, this is just season 1. I'm assuming we'll never get a season 2. Though Netflix regularly produces terrible content and, and then greenlights it for future seasons. So hopefully they can throw some money Japan's way and we can get a season 2. But there's an element of like a social media. There's a kind of this is probably exotic to a Japanese audience, which is why they can do that, and we kind of eye roll when we see it. But 1984, the George Orwell novel is explicitly summoned to be a character in this story, and that is interesting. And it's there's an idea of thought police in that, from that novel, kind of getting manifested as think poll, being a play on that, and they tell you that it's a play on 1984. Sorry, geez, these frogs, right? Come on. And that's interesting. So they deal with the moral complexity of being a real criminal injustice in the world, and society being corrupt or damaged or afraid and inept in some way at dealing with them. So maybe we can sort of crowdsource justice, right? Where we can maybe we can let the public decide what what should be done with people at any given moment, and maybe we can circumvent the traditional justice system, the formal justice system, in order to do some sort of public justice. And sort of it's kind of like Death Note, but if you gave if you gave the people the Death Note instead of light. And that's an interesting concept, because clearly that's kind of taking a hard look at cancel culture, as cringy as sometimes that word is. That's what's being discussed in a very real way in this story. And maybe that feels like, I don't know, like, I'm also I'm digging into Standalone Complex, which is 2002. That's 2D animated. That's another Ghost in the Shell franchise. And that feels a lot more timeless, perhaps. So maybe that's what some people are responding to when it comes to SAC 2045, is that this feels, I don't know, maybe this is too different from what people are used to when it comes to Ghost in the Shell. I dig it. I do need, particularly when there's franchises like this that span 35 years or something. Maybe a little less than that, but I need it to, if you're going to continually reboot the franchise, as they've done, like, I think 3 times now, as an animated series. It's 2002, 2012, I think, and then here again in 2020. I think it behooves you to say, what are we going to say in 2020 that we didn't say in 2012, that wasn't on people's minds as much in 2002, And so a social media element of that, of maybe humans are evolving. There's a ghost in a different kind of shell, a human shell this time, and it's being activated and awoken as like a Joker figure that maybe has understandable reactions to this sort of this techno plutocratic globalist kind of semi nightmare situation, I guess, that you see in Ghost in the Shell universe. And there's a human chaos element that wants to break and destroy that, and do so violently. And it's neat to see that explored, because I think maybe that just fits my Western sensibilities a bit more as an or my American sensibilities, I mean. because that's kind of, that sort of dualism is how we discuss it here, you know. Maybe they're discussing that in Japan too, which I find interesting. Japan being more of a conservative culture in many senses of that term than you find in America, for instance, or at least more uniformly conservative in a lot of ways. And their view of social media seems to be different than what we do in the States. So there's an element of that. So yeah, overall, I did judge the book by its cover, and I said, this looks kind of trashy, and I want something new, and I don't want to watch He-Man. I don't want to watch the What If Marvel stuff. I'm not interested. I feel like I've been force feeding myself that for 20 years now, waiting to like any of that stuff, and I'm just not terribly excited about it. But Ghost in the Shell seems fresh, and I kind of like it when no one's talking about it, because it means I can kind of dive in with a little less expectation and just kind of let the story do what it needs to do. And the story I highly recommend. I'm not a super fan, but I'm an interested observer in Ghost in the Shell, and I hope to see, my plan is to see everything and then read some of it. I don't think I can read all of it, but I'm going to at least watch everything. That's not going to be that hard, and hopefully do a review. So SAC 2045, if you're a writer, or if you like good scripts, and you're like a story-driven type person, I recommend it. I would say I tried sub and dub. Dub is it's decent. It's okay. Sub is better in this circumstance, and that has a lot to do with, this is a Japanese story told primarily in Japan with culturally Japanese characters, and a lot of that stuff just really comes out cheesy when they dub it for American, and it feels a bit more right. It's easier to it's easier to understand culturally when you're watching it subbed. So recommend the sub over the dub. I don't always do that. I think you can do something like Cowboy Bebop, or there's other stuff that's a little more wilder, I guess, and not as hard-edged. Like in this one, you see like kids getting shot and stuff. It's artfully done, but it's very, very violent. People's heads being boxed, one punch hit, and they explode like bottle rockets. I don't know, something like about that feels better in Japanese. I don't know. And yeah, and I even think you'd like it if you liked Arise from 2012, I think it was, or Standalone Complex, because I think the heart's there. Maybe it's a little weird that it's 15 years later in that timeline and everyone looks the same with slightly different haircuts, and it's a machinima from someone's PlayStation 2, and so maybe that makes everything feel a little disjointed, but the script's there. The script's on point. So it's as good as a lot of anime that people know and love, including like Death Note, for instance. It's very Death Note-y the more it goes along. So yeah, probably 8.5 out of 10 if you like seeing those sort of topics explored in challenging, complex ways, I guess, If you want to see prophets of 1984, of Orwellian prophets in a post-human techno society, and you want to see that delved into as a topic from a Japanese perspective, I think it's at least a 8.5, and if you watch it dubbed, it's gonna be a 7 at most. And if you're watching for the graphics, it's gonna be a 6.5. So that's how it goes down. But thanks for checking this out, and let me know what you think about this. Be interested to hear your thoughts. It doesn't look like a lot of people are watching it. Hit at a bad time, 2020, of course, but does leave you with a lot of questions answered and left unaddressed, and probably never get a second season, but there's good content there. So yeah, check it out. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye.